Greetings, everyone. Today, I wanted to share some thoughts I have about Overwatch and Marvel Rivals. I've been hopping back and forth between both games since perks came out in Season 15 of Overwatch and mid Season 1 patch of Marvel Rivals. A lot of the videos I found discussing these two games feel very one sided. It's either Overwatch is superior or Marvel Rivals killed Overwatch. And I wanted to have some real discussion about them because, truthfully, I love playing both games, but each of them have their own strengths and weaknesses. Overwatch is the game I grew up with, and I've been playing it for almost 10 years now, while Marvel Rivals is the shiny new toy everyone seems to be flocking to. Both games encompass the hero shooter genre, where the goal of each game is to capture or defend an objective from the opposing team. Although everyone seems to be obsessed with them, your personal stats don't really matter in either of these games. It doesn't matter how many limbs or how much healing you have if the objective isn't the priority of the match. That's what makes these games fun for me. It turns the games into chess, where the heroes are different pieces with their own roles and jobs, while each side fights to conquer the king, or payload in this case. I like to think of tanks or vanguards as the pawns, where they might not be able to take out targets from afar, but they sure are capable of holding the front line to enable other pieces to move between them, while still posing as threats themselves. A piece like the knight is a good supporting piece, capable of playing defensive and offensive with some limits of course, very much like Ana or Mantis, where they're able to do some damage, while also being able to help out allies. The real damage dealers are the Rook and Bishop. I'd like to think of the Rook as those front to back kind of damage, something like Soldier 76 or the Punisher, while the Bishop is an off angler or flanker, like Genji or Black Panther. You're probably wondering where the Queen is in all of this. To me, the Queen is when something is overpowered or broken in the game and defines the meta. A hero or a group of heroes that are very capable and have very few weaknesses aside from their own misplays. Now, it's not impossible to take down the Queen, but it takes a lot of strategy and coordination to do so from the other pieces. The planning and coordination of each piece is important to be able to capture the objective. In some cases, it's wise to use a less valuable piece to bait out a higher value target to be able to gain the advantage. Think of situations where, as Winston or Hulk, you'll need to jump into enemies to bait out their cooldowns to allow your Genji or Panther to enter the fight safely and capitalize on your distraction. This culmination of interactions between the heroes is what makes these type of games the most enjoyable for me. Something as simple as an Ana nanoing a Genji during Blade, or Magneto counter-ulting a strategist ult creates moments where the tides turn in battle and you see it in real time. However, things get to be stale or annoying when multiple heroes are queen status and stay that way for prolonged periods of time. Like in the first half of Season 1 of Marvel Rivals, when triple strategist was the meta, and they were capable of making everyone basically invincible, extending fights significantly, and making fights into a waiting game if you weren't one of the three strategists. This has also been the case many times in Overwatch's history. In both games, there can be moments where it is or isn't fun for similar reasons, but there are also cases where one game may succeed in one area that the other game can struggle in. When it comes to performance, Overwatch easily has the edge over Marvel Rivals. It simply runs better and more consistently, making it more accessible to weaker systems. It's easier to get more friends into it, or for those who casually play video games and don't have a NASA computer. Arguably, the heroes in Overwatch also have a better feel to them. Sound design plays a huge role in immersion, and Overwatch does an amazing job at it. The uniquely identifiable sounds between heroes is not only satisfying, but discernible between heroes mid-fights. Each hero even has their own unique footstep sounds. Although this has been drastically improved from the beta for Marvel Rivals, I still think Overwatch has the edge in hero immersion. Now, Marvel Rivals does have the upper hand in depth and complexity of combat. A comparison you often hear is how Doctor Strange Portal is a more intricate version of Symmetra's teleporter. It doesn't have to be used to just deliver teammates to one place or another. It can be used as a sightline for an ally, a slingshot for Doctor Strange himself for a big ult, or even a tool to get new players to walk off the map. While team ups also bring a lot more depth to picking team comps and additional functionality to heroes, capable of unlocking new combos and possibilities. The heroes from Marvel Rivals all come with a certain level of clunk to them. I think it's both a blessing and a curse. When playing Marvel Rivals, it feels as though I'm trying to pilot the hero I'm playing. Having to understand how long I'll be locked out of actions when casting an ability is important to mastering a hero, compared to Overwatch, where more so feels like how well I can control the hero and how far I can push the limitations set on said hero. Marvel Rivals resembles more of your traditional fighting games like Street Fighter and Tekken, where you have to understand the frame data of the hero you're playing to be able to maximize the efficiency of them, whereas Overwatch resembles more of a rhythm game, relying on the speed and timing of the player to make big plays. Currently, a lot of the fights in Marvel Rivals revolve around ultimates. It's about which team can farm ults faster and not be caught out of position for too long. Ults build really fast in Marvel Rivals, and I think it's actually a good thing that they do. They are the most fun parts of hero shooters after all. Now, some ults are definitely more fun to use than others, but that's more subjective than anything. The point is, there's more peaks and valleys in terms of enjoyment. Overwatch, on the other hand, puts a lot more value into ultimates and the neutral fight. It's incredibly obvious when using an ultimate is bad, like when your team has already wiped out 3 enemies. Saving an ultimate for a certain scenario is a lot more important in Overwatch than it is in Marvel Rivals. That's because the neutral and ult trade matters more in a game where ultimates are more scarce. This creates a more consistent level of enjoyment, unless you're facing a Widowmaker. Even though both games have similar mechanics in how fights play out, they're still different enough to feel like completely different games in the same genre. It's like comparing CSGO to Valorant. Yeah, they follow the same game rules, but function very differently. A big thing that sets these two games apart is the perspective of the camera. This not only affects how it feels to play a hero, but also changes the value of cosmetics. Now, don't get me wrong, playing Spider Man in first person would definitely make people sick, and it wouldn't be a fun experience for the more mobile heroes. But some heroes, it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. If we compare two similar heroes like Soldier 76 and Punisher, we'll find that Soldier's rifle in first person looks and feels more like shooting a gun compared to Punishers. But this is caused purely by the perspective of which you're playing the hero. This was also evident in the Stadium showcase recently shown during the Blizzard Spotlight, where heroes can be played in third person with the option to swap shoulders and be able to go into first person. Heroes like Reinhardt just look like more fun to play because you get to see the full swing and ultimate animations. Certain hero archetypes will just function and feel better depending on the perspective. The fact that Overwatch is trying to do both is exciting. In both Overwatch and Marvel Rivals, I'd say that the value of individual cosmetic bundles is about the same, being priced roughly between $20 to $30 based on the rarity of the skin. Both games present a lot of the skin bundles as on sale to trick the buyer into thinking they're saving money. The big difference is how you get to view the skins in games. The third person camera in Marvel Rivals gives you the full view of the skin you're using at all times, whereas in Overwatch, you primarily stare at the gun, while only being able to view the skin as your body ragdolls all over the map during games. Being able to see the skin at all times gives you the feeling of driving your customized car in Grand Theft Auto. This lets you also enjoy the skin alongside showing it off, rather than picking a persona or cosplay to present yourself to others. This matters a lot because it not only shows others your investment in a character, but helps remind the player the investment in time they've put into a hero themselves. Liking a hero enough to spend $20 to $30 on them is a big deal for some. However, both these games give options to earn free cosmetics through events and missions and a cheaper alternative, battle passes. Although the base versions are priced similarly, they both are monetized and function very differently. The Battle Pass in Overwatch comes with the option to pay for a higher price for exclusive seasonal skins that disappear, which can't be bought with premium currency, while the Battle Pass in Rivals provides the option to earn Battle Pass currency at a higher rate if you buy the luxury premium Battle Pass. A big difference is how you level up these passes. In Overwatch, it's based on the experience gained through missions or games played. So theoretically, you can finish the Battle Pass in the first 2 weeks of a season if you focus on completing every mission available and play an absurd amount of games in a short time. Compared to the Marvel Rivals Battle Pass, which relies on limited daily and weekly missions giving a unique currency that are used to unlock desired components of the Battle Pass. A big advantage that Marvel Rivals has when it comes to a Battle Pass is the fact that you aren't limited by time to earn the rewards. At any point, you can go back to a Battle Pass and unlock the cosmetics given you have enough tokens. You can also convert Access tokens into a currency to purchase other skins in the shop if you've superseded the amount of missions needed to complete said Battle Pass. Both versions of the Battle Pass do give the ability to earn free and premium currency to purchase other cosmetics available in the shop at similar rates, giving half the value of the Battle Pass to be earnable. But enough about the dollar value of each pass. Let's talk about the contents of them. The Marvel Rivals Pass has 10 tiers, each of which come with the skin, associated MVP animations, some sprays, emotes, and currency to be earned. Whereas the Overwatch Pass comes with a lot more various cosmetics for multiple heroes. On top of the things available in the Marvel Rivals Pass and Overwatch, you can also earn things like victory poses, souvenirs, and weapon charms. The value of each of these items is too subjective to really compare the value of them to one another, but it is arguable that things like souvenirs and weapon charms are just filler and potentially take up spots for more meaningful cosmetics. When it comes to skin bundles themselves, I believe Marvel Rivals has the edge on Overwatch, simply because you get to enjoy the skins more so, because of the perspective choice. But this can change when Stadium comes around. The Battle Pass in Marvel Rivals is also better because there's no pressure to complete them compared to Overwatch. When you buy the Battle Pass in Overwatch, you end up buying a responsibility which causes players to feel guilty if they don't end up completing it. The culture that evolves from Overwatch's cosmetics is far beyond what Marvel Rivals can accomplish right now. Things like dancing, walking, and sit emotes incentivize other players to join along, bringing players together before a game even begins, and without the need to vocally communicate with each other. The little cosmetics like weapon charms and souvenirs also bring people together. bringing a feeling of community and belonging when you find someone that matches. When comparing the culture of Marvel Rivals to Overwatch, it feels more secluded when you look at it purely from a game perspective. But when you engage with social media, it changes drastically. The countless memes that have already sprouted from Marvel Rivals brings people who play the same hero together. Iron Man players with their Jarvis statements, Luna players with their various songs that play during ult, and the endless beratement towards Jeff are just a few examples of things that bring players together. It's just that Overwatch does this more successfully within their game, while Marvel Rivals is a lot more popular on social media currently. How will this change in the future? I'm not so sure. A big part of hero shooter culture is the ranks of players. Overwatch is a much more competitive game compared to Marvel Rivals for reasons beyond how the rank system functions. Just the labels of the ranks give different meaning to them, regardless of how reflective they are of the actual skills of the players. Disregarding the medal ranks, achieving the rank of Grandmaster in either of these games changes the mental of players. Being given the title of Grandmaster makes the player believe that they are in the upper echelon of players, feeding their egos to convince them that they're the best players in the world, and that no one else compares to them in skill. Although the title is the same, the amount of players in these ranks vary drastically between games, with Grandmaster and Overwatch showing similar player base percentages to Celestial 2 and Marvel Rivals. Beating the egos of competitive players is dangerous, as it leads to a lot of toxicity to develop between players. Remember when I said that the scoreboard doesn't matter in games like these? Well, when you give a bunch of players with god complexes the ability to literally judge books by their cover, you end up with constant flaming and unhelpful discourse. A lot of players are quick to ask the Spider Man or Black Panther player to swap if their KD is even or slightly negative, because it's easier to criticize someone else than it is to think of a way to help them play better, especially when the game itself gives you an easy way to convince yourself that this player isn't doing the best. At the same time, the opposite is true. A player could be going positive or trading one for one each fight, but if you're not doing the thing your team needs to capture the objective, your skills and mechanics are meaningless. Sometimes it takes one good hero swap or a change of playstyle to drastically change how fights go. So why don't players do this more often in Marvel Rivals compared to Overwatch? The answer is simple. Players are convinced that they are many tiers above their own teammates, to the point where if a loss is imminent, it's not their fault, it's someone else's. Oh, but Winton, I lost a game with 54 limbs or 80,000 healing. Surely it's not me, and it's my teammates' fault, right? Wrong, to a certain extent. I'm not saying you're not playing well on the hero you're on. It's just sometimes you need to play something else, because it frankly doesn't matter how much healing or damage you do if the objective isn't your priority. That, or figure out a way to ask teammates to swap to a better comp without sounding like a whiny baby. I have said this for a long time, and I will continue to say it till the end of time. The only stat that matters in hero shooters is deaths. You can't push the payload, gain ult charge, or help teammates if you're constantly respawning. Personally, I believe the scoreboard should be removed mid game and only shown at the end. The only thing that people need to know of their teammates is what heroes they're playing and their ult charge to become a homogeneous team that can succeed. Overwatch 1 almost had this down, but they had medals, which gave a way for players to argue to each other. Albeit a bit more casual and funny because they were only client side, it still caused a lot of unnecessary tension between players. To summarize all my thoughts throughout this video, both games are good competitors to each other and can inspire healthy and creative growth. Overwatch, which has already existed for 10 years, is good for Marvel Rivals, as hopefully they'll be able to avoid some of the mistakes made in the past without having to experiment too much. And Marvel Rivals, now coming out as a true competitor to Overwatch, forces them to take risks, as now they can't just play it safe and do the same thing every season. Since the launch of Marvel Rivals, Overwatch has already released perks and announced Stadium, more than which they've done in the past year. While in Marvel Rivals, it seems as though they have a lot planned for the future, releasing 2 heroes a season while bringing new team ups and maps as well. There's lots to be excited about for both of these games. There's many ways for each game to benefit off of the ideas from one another, and I hope that they do. Not for the pockets of the people working on it, but for the communities that play these games. Depending on how you want to treat these games, it can easily be a two cake situation. But if you're content with one and don't like the other, know that its existence will make yours taste even better. If you've made it this far into the video and enjoyed it, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. Comment below any thoughts you have, or things you agree or disagree with from anything that I've said. If you'd like to see more content like this, or just the experience that I have in both of these games, feel free to subscribe to the channel as well. I upload videos twice a week on YouTube, and I stream every day on Twitch, so feel free to stop by. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time. Winton out.
Winton. 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 Wait, 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 wait.